everybody. Welcome to another episode. My name is Charles. I'm going to be your host today. And my guest today is Michael Zois, who is an internet comedian, YouTube personality. You have more than one channel, I think, right? It's The Garbage Take and The Garbage Take After Dark.
The Garbage Take.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be really fun. Not just because you're a comedian and I've not had a chance to do that yet, but because we're going to be talking about AI with comedy. I mean, we're going to talk about AI with art in general, but specifically, I think I'd like to start off with AI and comedy, why it's not very funny right now.
Okay, well, I mean, not to disparage AI, because I'm not going to be very funny either, so don't expect a whole lot. There's certainly a place for it. These new language models are great tools. Not just for comedians, but for writers, any type of creative person. You're going to find something that the AI can do for you, but it's still not quite there to replace that human creativity quite yet. I'm not sure that it ever will be, but at this rate, it very well may.
When we talk about like AI generated humor, it is just fundamentally off base. Like it is just, it cannot get it. Even though the joke seems structurally correct, right? It's just not funny.
Yeah, you can teach the language model how to put together a joke. So the computer knows, okay, setup, characters, setting, situation. Great. Punchline, unexpected situation that changes the outcome, laughter. It knows exactly how to structure that, but it'll give you something ridiculous. It doesn't have any human experience, any cultural understanding. It doesn't have any of that stuff that allows a comedian to bend reality and make it funny. So it'll give you, why did the chicken cross the road? Oh, because he forgot his iPhone across the street and he had to go get it. Well, that's certainly structured like a joke. And certainly the twist is unexpected. A chicken has a phone, but it's stupid. It's not funny. It hasn't quite figured out that part yet.
I actually think that it's also because AI fundamentally wants to be able to give you the right answer, right? It wants to give you what you think you want to hear. And in a joke, the punchline is usually really outside the box. And in the world of AI, that's usually considered hallucinating, right? So we like discourage AI from going there, which might be just another reason why AI is just not good at humor.
Yeah, it's interesting. Those hallucinations oftentimes are funnier than the joke that it was trying to come up with. Like we found out this ridiculous image of, it was Trump kneeling down in the rotunda, and there's people surrounding him and flags, and there's this really patriotic image where he's praying to Jesus or something, and he's got like 8 fingers on one hand. It was this dead giveaway that this is obviously fake. But the 8 fingers was funny. It wasn't meant to be funny, but we found it funny because it was so poorly done. We're laughing at the AI, not laughing with it. I don't think that's the angle they were going for.
Probably not. And I feel like that's where we're at right now, right? Where we laugh at AI. Even like in the videos that it's making. The VO3 just came out recently from Google, and we're just seeing just a mountain of AI slop come across on YouTube and everywhere else. And there's been some that have been funny. Like I have definitely laughed at some of it. I don't think any of it was intentional.
It certainly seems to do cute better than funny. Like if you ask it to make you cute cat videos, it seems to have a better grasp on that. It can give you cute videos. Or horror, you ask it to give you scary, ominous images. It can do that. Funny, for some reason, is just different. Maybe because what's scary to people is universal. A building on fire, that's universally scary. A guy slipping on a banana peel, to me, hysterical. To someone else, that's not funny. Somebody could get hurt. It's so much more subjective. I don't know that that's really the case, but it seems like it really struggles with those distinctions.
Do you remember the movie Short Circuit?
Input? Johnny Five? Yes. Of course, they're
yeah.
classic film.
Steve Guttenberg, he was trying to like test Johnny over and over again and trying to figure out if he really was alive or not. And then in the end, he realized the ultimate thing that he could do was tell a joke. And if he laughed, oh my gosh, you're really alive because you're laughing at a joke, because humor is very, very much distinctly a human trait, and it just can't be replicated by any machine. We're talking about, what we thought AI was going to be from the 80s, but I feel like it still applies right now. We can get AI to do all of these amazing things, but we cannot make it funny.
That's odd because you brought up short circuit. It seemed like even as we were developing these ideas, we knew that this was going to be a problem. Like in Star Trek, Data went through entire character arcs where he was trying to understand humor to make him more humorous. He was trying to understand humor to make him more human. So much so that he went into the holodeck and started learning from Joe Piscopo. How do I be a stand-up comedian? What's funny? What's not? Throughout his entire character arc, Data never figured out how to be funny. Ever. And that's Data. We're talking theoretical hundreds of years in the future. Advanced technology that we can't even imagine. And even then, futurists figured they're not going to be able to get this. Maybe that's...
And maybe we shouldn't.
Well, maybe we shouldn't.
I mean, and this is just me personally. I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't understand why we are in such a rush to replace art with AI. Like, I understand wanting to replace a lot of different things, but when you start getting into the arts, painting, drawing, telling jokes, do we really want AI going there? I mean, what is that going to mean for us culturally when AI is performing all of the arts? What's left for us to do other than wash dishes, I guess?
Yeah, art is something distinctly human. That until... I don't know if this even makes sense. That art comes from what some people would call the heart or the soul, even though I don't believe we really have such a thing. AI, a computer, doesn't have a soul. It doesn't, it's not able to portray that emotion on a painting. I can look at a beautiful painting and piece together, I know what he was feeling when he painted that. I can listen to an Olivia Rodrigo song and know, oh man, I know exactly what she was feeling when she wrote that. That's human. That artistic connection is purely human. I don't know that AI, no matter how good it technically gets, it can't recreate that emotion. So it can't put it on a page or on a canvas or in a piece of music. At least not right now, it's not able to. And if it is ever able to, does that mean it's now truly alive?
That's a good question. I mean, it's certainly not stopping people from trying, right? Especially in the world of art and music. I mean, we've seen AI music everywhere. Um, you can't go on Spotify anymore without being just bombarded with AI generated music. And since when who asked for that? Why did anybody want that?
Well, that's the problem, right? You've made it a commodity now, and that means some businessman sees it as something we can sell. And if I don't have to pay Olivia Rodrigo 10 cents for every Apple Play, we can keep that money for ourselves. Let's just do that. Is it artistic? Does it have souls? Who cares? We're making money off this. You've bastardized the entire enterprise now. Great for business, not so great for what makes art human.
So we're training AI to take away art and put it in the hands of businesses. I sometimes worry that we're doing the same thing with a lot of different jobs, right? We're taking away the ability for humans to do all these jobs now, and AI can just handle it. So you can just go back to, I don't know, whatever it was you did before this.
Are you noticing in your business and in marketing? Are you noticing a big effect? Are there reverberations, or is it still too soon?
It's a little soon to tell. Definitely, people with skill in AI are being held up in a much higher regard than those who don't understand or use AI in their workflows. Um, but the one jobs title that I've seen almost vanish is the writer.
Really?
Copywriter. I'm not seeing copywriters that often anymore. I'm seeing more and more uh, businesses, even agencies like marketing agencies, like talk about how, oh no, we don't need copywriters anymore. The AI does all of our writing for us. So all of our blogs and all of our social media posts, it's just all done by AI now. We don't need writers anymore. And this is the thing that like Hollywood writers were terrified of, right? That the AI was going to come in and just take over. And that might be also why we see this rise in mediocre slop everywhere.
It almost seems counterintuitive. I would think the opposite would have happened. I would have expected web designers and computer coders to be the first to go, because that's technical. That's following a cake, ABCD. That's cookie cutter, custom design for a computer to do. I wouldn't expect it to take away the creative artistic side first. I'd expect the tech side to go first, and eventually it'll catch up to a certain point and then start wiping out artists as well. But it sounds like the opposite is happening.
Yeah, I expected the same thing, and that's not to say that they're safe. Like I've definitely spoken with one engineer in particular who used to hire stuff out to freelancers. Now he just has AI do it. So he'll have like 4 different instances on 4 different screens running programs. It's all AI. And this would have been 4 freelancers working. Now it's 4 AI doing it. So there's 4 engineers who are out of a job now.
Yeah, I don't know what this spells out for the future of human work, human economy. There are some things where it's very easy to piece together what is likely to happen. You can plan ahead for, if you're a business, I know it's just a matter of time before I don't need an accounting staff anymore. One guy is going to run an AI and he's going to do accounting for everybody. HR gone. I'm not going to need an HR department anymore. I'm not going to need whatever. You can see where that's going. What's impossible to predict is the downstream effects of that socially. When you've laid off every accountant in the United States, HR isn't a career anymore. Creative writer isn't a career anymore. All these things have been destroyed. What's left for 8 billion humans on Earth to do? We can't all be AI engineers, and eventually it'll learn to engineer itself. That's impossible to predict. That's an upheaval. I was going to say it's analogous to going from an agrarian society to an industrial. I think it's even worse than that. And there's no way to predict with any accuracy what that's going to look like. And that's pretty scary. Much scarier than they're going to build Terminator machines and kill us.
Yeah, I'm less terrified of that outcome, or more terrified of just being left with nothing. I can't work anymore because all the jobs are done by AI. I don't want to watch TV anymore because every show is being produced by some AI. And that one bothers me a lot, actually, because I grew up with entertainment. I grew up with movies and TV shows. I was like, I could pretty much define my entire childhood as just me and the television. But the content that we're getting now with the help of AI is just becoming more and more and more baseline mediocre.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing that really challenges people anymore. And how is that going to affect humanity on a larger scale when you start taking away our entertainment and replacing it with this generative content?
Well, it's not simply entertainment. You can transfer that same sentiment to anything. When all of humanity is no longer a producer of anything, all you're doing is consuming. You're not producing, not just your entertainment, you're not producing your consumer goods anymore. The services that you used to provide are being done by a mechanized system now. You're not contributing anything. You're just consuming. I don't know what kind of a people that turns us into, but I don't think it's a good one. Maybe I'm wrong.
One of the things that I have noticed on social media is the rise of the podcast and the rise of people who are usually just looking directly into a screen and just talking. And I've heard it said that it's because it's authentic and people just crave that authenticity. I'm seeing more of that, and it makes me wonder, as AI and automated garbage starts making its way through all of our social media, is that why we are now craving this more authentic style of content?
I can only speak for myself. I know if I'm muddling my way through YouTube, the instant I see one of those faceless, clearly AI generated channels come up, even if the topic is interesting to me, it was interesting enough that I stopped and clicked on it. I can tell AI dialogue immediately. And I know there's not a human behind this. This is all completely fake. I'm out immediately. I'm done. I don't want to be lectured by a computer. And if I see a human speaking to me, even though I know part of that script was probably AI generator, or he used AI to help write that script. I certainly use it to help write my stuff. At least I'm talking to a person. I'm being spoken to by a human. And if I click in the comments, I'll probably interact with that human or some other human. That's still valuable to me. Otherwise, I'm just going to read a textbook.
Right. And I don't really know what you mean. I've clicked into videos where it looked like an interesting topic, and then there is no person. There's something off about the voice, and I think I feel almost betrayed. Like I feel lied to when I go to those, and like they're trying to pass themselves off as human when they're not. Do you remember when we used to make phone calls and or you'd get a phone call from a telemarketer and you knew it was an automated robotic voice and you would say, "Are you a robot?" And there would be a pause and then it would laugh because it would always laugh.
Right.
And it would say, "Of course I'm not a robot." And then you just get enraged because now you're like, you lied to me.
You're clearly lying to me. You're a robot. And oftentimes you need to use a little care. This is an anecdotal example, but I was doing that an episode about our Iran policy, and sometimes I use ChatGPT to do some research for me, look up the date of whatever, and it came back and added a little line to my script about how we overthrew their democratically elected government before the Shah took power. I know as a historian that never happened. It made that up entirely because it knows that a little while ago I did some research on the country of Chile, where we did overthrow the elected government. The United States has done stuff like that before, and I was critical of it. And it pieced together this guy is interested in this kind of stuff. It made it up. We never overthrew the government of Iran and installed the Shah. It made that up because it thought I'd be interested in it.
Wow, that's incredibly dangerous.
That could have snuck by. Had I not just happened to know that that never happened, it at minimum would have been very embarrassing if I put it into my script. At worst, you can piece together how it could go bad.
Oh, sure. I mean, I talk with educators who use AI to help build curriculum, who help build like activities for their kids. And
I don't know if
you
that's
didn't know that. Like seriously, if you didn't know ahead of time, there's your class of 30 times however many times you teach per day, and you're just telling them all the wrong thing. And
China landed on the moon first, and they didn't want it, so they gave it to the United States, and then we went to the Apollo program. That's really cool. At best, you embarrassed yourself. At worst, well, who knows? Yeah, very, very dangerous.
Right.
I don't know how you get a grip on that. Because if
that
maybe it's part of the training models. That's why it's not funny. If it was Louis C.K. and Jerry Seinfeld teaching an AI, would it come up with killer comedy? I don't know. But if it's learning from the internet and humanity, when Microsoft launched their AI and took it down later that day, because the first thing it did is go to Twitter, and an hour later, going back with Hitler was right, we must exterminate the Jews. Pull the plug. Why are we teaching it this? If it's learning, if your AI model is learning from humanity, it's learning from the worst possible teachers because we are not a good people. It's learning from the worst of the pits of our blackness. That's a bad way to teach a new life form.
I had the same real concerns when I found out that one of them, and I forget, I think it was Google's AI is being trained from Reddit. And I thought, is that really any better than Twitter? I mean, it seems dangerous.
I'm okay with the AI knowing that I like Ford F-150s and girls with fat butts, I guess. But that's the only thing of value it's going to learn from Reddit. Are they willing to pay a team of peer-reviewed researchers to train their AI properly? No, of course not. Just unleash it on the internet. Let it absorb everything, the good as well as the abhorrent.
So there's the last thing that I wanted to touch on. We talk about trying to align its humor, right? And I've tried this, where I would go to scripts of things that I thought were really funny, and I would pull those down and I would feed it, very specific scripts, very specific dialogue, and say, all right, this is what I'm looking for. This style, this style, this style. Try to replicate it. And in a way, it kind of pulled it off, but now it feels more like stealing than anything else. Like it's
So it's plagiarizing instead of writing its own.
right. In order to really hone in and to really understand humor, which it doesn't, it just understands trend, right? It understands trend. It can analyze and say, okay, this style, these words plus these words equals funny. So it would try to replicate that, and it either would do it very poorly, or it would just grab stuff and bring it over word for word and say, here you go, this was funny there, so I'm sure it's funny here too. And so that opens the door, of course, to, well, how much of this content is plagiarized? I wanted it to help me write something, truly original, because of the parameters that I set in, and because I was looking for something so specific. The only way it knew how to pull that off was to just copy something that had already been done.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if I'm using it as a comedian, I'm perfectly happy to tell it, this is the topic and this is how I feel about it. And these are my ideas about each of these subtopics, and let it form an outline. Because it's really great at structuring an outline. You still have to go back afterwards and actually, the analogy I used is cooking. I want to make a beef bourguignon, and I know the steps I have to do. First, I have to find a recipe. I have to go get the ingredients. I have to prep the ingredients. I have to actually do the cooking. I have to do the serving and presentation, right? The AI is great at gathering your ingredients, washing your vegetables, and chopping them. You got to go put the recipe together. It's going to be how you mix them, how you season it, when you take it off the fire, how you cook it and present it. That's going to tell you whether you get beef bourguignon, or if the computer decided to give you something else, to give you Wagyu beef sliders, because it saw somewhere on Twitter that here's how to turn your 4th of July celebration into a real potluck. And it decided to just change it up entirely. If you want beef bourguignon, it can chop the potatoes for you, but you better get in there and cook it.
That's the truth. I don't know if you've tried this, where you take a picture of everything in your fridge and then you have AI make a recipe for you.
I have not, but I'm going to right after we finish here, just because it sounds hysterical.
It can be hysterical. It will just invent all new recipes based on what you've shown it, and it is horrifying.
Is that why there's this trend on Instagram and Twitter of these ridiculous recipes that are just garbage?
Yes,
You try to put them together.
That is exactly what that is.
These aren't real recipes. This isn't food. Who told it to mix these things?
It's a whole trend. So there's a bunch of them for recipes. There's ones for drinks. So you'll see, like, alcoholic drinks. This is and they'll give it some wild, ridiculous name, usually with some kind of sexual innuendo. And then it'll give you how to make this drink. And anybody who's ever made a drink before will look at this and go, well, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Well, that doesn't make our lives better.
And the recipes are no better, because it absolutely does. It's all AI generated, including the image that goes with it. So the whole thing is just pumped out by AI. And of course, the concept behind it is it can kick out 100 recipes a day. So it just floods the algorithm, but they all suck. Yes.
See,
and you should not try any of them.
This is not the AI I was saying. When I first heard we're going to get AI, real artificial intelligence, I thought, great, I'll finally have a machine that can mow my lawn for me, and I don't have to go mow the lawn. It'll go do it properly. That's not what we're getting. This dumb crap.
No, you're getting something that's going to make your TV shows, tell your jokes for you, and just run your YouTube channel so that you can go and mow the lawn and take care of the dishes.
I'm glad that my day job is in healthcare, because I don't see that going away quite yet. But if I use a little imagination, I can see how it will. Like,
really?
Your staffing in the ICU, intensive care unit, is usually one nurse monitoring at most 2 patients. If it's a really bad shift, maybe 3 patients. I can set up an AI reading telemetry, monitoring the IV drips, and that AI is monitoring the entire ICU. And if it notices something going off, it sets off an alarm, and an actual person could go run in and do some kind of adjustment or some kind of intervention. Now there's one nurse in the ICU for every 10 people because the AI is doing the monitoring for you. It's not there yet, but it will be. Probably.
I can see that happening very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And I can see, oh my gosh, I hate saying this. I can see the good and the bad, right? Because you can see how having an AI in every single room, you're literally being monitored 24/7.
Yeah.
I didn't have to wait for a nurse to come in. The AI nurse is always, always there. That's great. Except now the hospital turns that around and goes, well, now I don't need half of you. So off you go.
And nor does it understand, I don't know, I feel this weird pain in my lower left. It'll go through, well, that's either nothing, or you're just in your brain, or you got the wrong blood type. It's not going to know those tiny little human nuanced things. Maybe I did get the wrong blood type and I'm going through a reaction, but I don't want to be difficult. No, I'll be okay. I don't need anything. The computer read me saying, I don't need anything. Okay, he's fine. He leaves. A nurse, a human, would have seen, oh, I don't know, you look like you're really in pain there. You're really wincing and talking weird. Computer's not going to catch that nuance.
That's why it probably makes a piss poor nurse. And and it's not a very good comedian. It's not really good at entertainment. It makes terrible music.
Modern era. Here we go. I can't wait to see where it goes.
What's your predictions between now and the next 5 years?
Economic catastrophe. Economic catastrophe, yeah. Mass unemployment. We're not. Eventually, the macroeconomic situation changes and humans adjust.
Mm-hmm.
We always have. When we killed all the whales, we didn't stop having light. We just had to move to something else. Okay, now we've got electric lights, and there's always the what's next. That what's next usually took decades to get there. This is happening in a matter of weeks. You have these wholesale changes. There's no way humans can keep up at that rate. No conceivable way. And the consequences are going to be very, very bad for most people. Some people are going to get wealthy beyond the dreams of avarice. But for your average working class schmuck, you got problems in the future. And I don't think we've even started to address them because we're too scared to even admit them. And this isn't one you can stick your head in the sand about.
That's true. Mike Zois, comedian, YouTube personality. I've got all of your links in the description, so people who are watching or listening should absolutely check those out. Mike, thanks so much for joining. This was a lot of fun.
Anytime, pal, anytime. Happy to have it.